There is a fire within you that you have forgotten, not because it left you, but because you have become distracted from its warmth. This fire is not the type that consumes forests or boils water. It is not the flame you see in the external world. It is the inner essence of life that exists beyond the grasp of the senses. It is the very breath of the divine, the energy that does not burn but illuminates. On the journey through life, we often become so absorbed in the surface that we lose touch with the source. But God, in His infinite wisdom, knows the exact moment to return us to our center. And on a day like July 8, 2025, the door to your inner sanctum will be quietly unlocked. Not with noise, not with shock, but with a silent injection of divine fire that will ignite every part of your being that has remained asleep. To awaken does not mean to suddenly understand. It means to become aware of what has always been. It is not a gaining, it is a returning. God does not need to install anything new inside you. What He does is burn away the veil, the fog, the illusions that you are incomplete, that you are too weak, that you are not chosen. This divine fire reveals what has always been buried beneath the dust of doubt and the weight of worldly noise. It whispers, not yells, that your life is not an accident, that your presence is not a mistake, that your breath is sacred. And as you awaken, you begin to see what has always been hidden in plain sight. That energy is not something you chase, it is something you remember. There will be no trumpet announcing this transformation, no fireworks in the sky. The real changes happen silently. Just as a seed breaks open beneath the soil, invisible to the eye, your soul too will crack open, not in pain, but in purpose. This is what divine fire does. It does not destroy what you are, it destroys what you are not. The false identities, the borrowed beliefs, the masks that you have worn out of fear and expectation, and when those layers fall, what remains is not weakness. What remains is truth. What remains is light. You may not even notice the exact moment this shift happens. You may simply find yourself breathing differently, walking more slowly, speaking with intention, feeling an unfamiliar calm in moments where you once panicked. That is the sign of the flame taking root, not in the mind, which always seeks explanation, but in the heart, which only seeks alignment. When God injects His energy into you, it is not to make you better than others. It is to make you more yourself, fully, authentically, unapologetically. For too long you have tried to be who the world wants, but the world does not know your blueprint. Only God does. The fire does not come to give you temporary motivation, it comes to give you a permanent shift in vibration. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer live in scarcity, you begin to operate from overflow. This is the secret. The fire is not just heat, it is clarity. It burns away confusion, it cleanses hesitation, and in its warmth you finally see not only the path forward, but who you are on that path. Not a seeker begging for guidance, but a soul walking with God inside. On July 8, the external world may appear normal. The sky will not change color, the clock will tick as usual. But within you, something will feel different. There may be no words to describe it, only a subtle knowing, a hum beneath the skin, a silent push to rise, not because someone said you should, but because something within you finally knows that it is time, that the delay is over, that the preparation has ended. The fire has arrived, and with it comes responsibility, not the kind that burdens, but the kind that liberates. You are responsible for honoring this fire, for feeding it with truth, for expressing it through action. You may wonder why now, why this day, why you, and the answer will not come in sentences, but in stillness. Because when God chooses to inject this flame into your being, He does not do it to explain, He does it to awaken. You are not being punished for your past, you are being prepared for your future. The fire is not interested in your mistakes, it is focused only on your alignment, on bringing you into sync with what you were always meant to be. Everything you need is already within you, waiting. dormant like embers in the ashes, but fire, when touched by breath, comes alive. And the breath of God is about to move through you in a way you have never known, not with noise, not with spectacle, but with sacred purpose. You will not need to announce it to others. They will feel it, in your eyes, in your presence, in the energy you carry when you say nothing at all. The flame makes you magnetic, not because of what you do, but because of who you are becoming. This inner fire is not just for your benefit. It is meant to ripple outward, to touch others, to light the path for those still walking in darkness. That is how divine fire works. It does not stop with you. It moves through you. You become the torch, the lighthouse, the quiet presence in a room that brings peace without needing to speak. You become a living reminder that God is real, that change is possible, that destiny is not written in stone, but carved in silence by those brave enough to sit in stillness and wait for the flame. The awakening is gentle. It does not throw you into chaos. It aligns you with rhythm. You begin to notice signs. You hear messages in moments that once seemed random. You feel nudged toward conversations, people, and places that nourish your spirit. That is the fire guiding you, not in commands, but in whispers. You will begin to live intuitively, no longer overthinking. The mind will try to resist at first, but the heart will know. The fire lives there now. And once it is ignited, there is no going back to the way things were. You may have been tired, spiritually drained, mentally scattered, but divine fire brings coherence. It draws all the scattered parts of you together. It is not a patch, it is a restoration, a return to original design, a coming home. The energy that God injects into you is not artificial. It is not temporary motivation. It is pure life force, the kind that sustains itself through alignment, the kind that grows stronger the more you honor it. That is why your practice matters now. Your morning silence, your evening reflection, your integrity when no one is watching. These are the things that feed the fire, not the applause, not the outcome, but the presence you bring to each moment. God does not choose people at random. He chooses them when their heart is ready to receive. July 8 is not just a date, it is a convergence, a sacred meeting between your readiness and His timing. The fire is not something you can earn, it is something you must surrender to. And in that surrender, you are no longer trying to control life. You begin to move with it, flow with it. Trust that what is rising within you has purpose beyond your understanding. You act before you even understand. There is no need to strive anymore. The divine fire removes striving. It replaces it with alignment. You no longer force doors open. You recognize the ones already unlocked. You no longer shout into the void. You listen to the voice inside. That is the energy God places within you. Not more noise, but more knowing. You do not need external proof. You are the proof. You are the living evidence of what happens when heaven touches earth, through the heart of one awakened soul. And so, when this fire enters you, hold it sacred. Let it transform how you breathe, how you move, how you think. Let it rewire your responses. Let it make your presence felt without effort. You do not need to declare it. You only need to live it. For those who burn from within never need to convince the world. The warmth they carry says everything. And this warmth, this flame, is yours. Given not because you asked, but because you are ready. There is a reason monks sit in silence for years, a reason why sages retreat from the noise of the world, not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand that the most profound instructions from the divine do not come through words, they come through stillness. God does not shout over the clamor of human opinions. He speaks where the noise ends and presence begins. On July 8, 2025, He will not approach you with a voice like thunder. He will enter through the unguarded spaces of your being. Those rare moments when you are not performing, not pretending, not striving. In that quiet stillness, He will inject into you something immeasurable. and it will arrive not as information, but as transformation. Most people live trapped in a constant state of mental noise. They wake up with thoughts racing. They move through their day with inner conflict. They sleep with worries rehearsing themselves in the background of their consciousness. And in all this noise, they ask for signs. They beg for clarity. They pray for peace. But peace cannot be delivered into a storm. It is only revealed when the waters of the mind become still. When you finally stop struggling, God does not hesitate. He speaks, not in the language of the intellect, but in the language of being. Silence is not empty. Silence is full of intelligence, full of wisdom, full of messages waiting to be heard. When the mind is loud, the soul cannot speak. But when the mind bows down and breath becomes the only sound, something ancient within you awakens. This is the sacred portal. This is where divine instruction enters, not through textbooks, not through lectures, but through stillness. One breath, one heartbeat, one moment of pure presence is enough to contain the entire universe of God's message for you. On this sacred day, you will not need to do anything external. You will not need to prove yourself worthy. You will simply need to be still enough to receive. God does not withhold. He waits. He waits for your mind to be quiet enough to listen. Not listen for more words, but listen with your spirit. Because the instructions He sends are not for your brain to analyze. They are for your soul to embody. You do not translate them into logic. You become them through vibration. In the silence, you may not hear a voice. You may not get a sentence. What you will get is a knowing, a download, a clarity that arrives like the rising sun, gentle yet unstoppable. You will suddenly understand what you must release. You will remember what you are here to do. Not in theory, but in feeling. That is how divine guidance works. It settles into your bones. It moves in your blood. You just know, not because you read it, but because it becomes undeniable inside of you. The modern world teaches us to chase more. More information, more goals, more stimulation, but the soul was not designed to grow through noise. It matures through stillness. The ancient teachings from the East are not rituals of escape. They are disciplines of remembrance. To sit in silence is not to do nothing. It is to return to everything. To the space before thought. To the space where your truest nature exists. And this is where God speaks most clearly. In the place where you are no longer trying to impress, no longer trying to control, no longer trying to be something you are not. God will inject into you the power to hear without sound, to understand without words. This is not imagination. This is insight. This is not dreaming. This is direct contact with the divine. You become an antenna tuned into a frequency that most miss because they are too busy talking. You become receptive. And in that receptivity, life starts aligning. You start attracting people who carry clarity. You begin seeing signs you once dismissed. You feel guided, not because someone tells you what to do, but because the instruction is now pulsing inside of you. You begin to follow the inner compass, not out of fear, but from a deep trust in your alignment. Silence teaches you to trust your breath again, to trust the rhythm of your body, to recognize the wisdom of your emotions. Most people escape their feelings. They fear the quiet because it brings them face to face with everything they've been avoiding. But silence is not the enemy. It is the healer, the purifier, the revealer. When you finally let it hold you, you begin to hear what your higher self has been trying to say for years. That you are enough, that you are guided, that you are not lost, only distracted. This moment, this sacred July 8th, will not come with alarms. It will not alert your ego. It will bypass the mind altogether and go straight into the heart. It will bring you face to face with your own presence, and you will begin to see just how sacred your attention is. Where you place it, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, life responds. This is the subtle instruction God sends. Pay attention, not to what looks urgent, but to what feels eternal. The world may tempt you to rush, but silence slows you down into right timing. It teaches you that not everything must be forced, that sometimes divine timing cannot be sped up, that waiting is not passive, it is preparation. In the quiet, God will show you why certain things did not work out. He will reveal the beauty in what felt like delay. He will teach you to stop asking, "Why me?" and start trusting, "What now?" He does not give explanations. He gives alignment. When you sit long enough with your own presence, the masks fall. The need to prove dissolves. You stop being a role, you become a soul. You stop being a reaction, you become a response. And that shift changes your life. You begin to walk differently. Not because you are trying to impress the world, but because you are now listening to something deeper than the world. You are listening to the silence where God lives. This silence is not quiet in the ordinary sense. It is vast. It is expansive. It is the field beyond good and bad, beyond right and wrong. It is the space where all things are known without effort. You begin to tap into intuition. You start to move without overthinking. You say less, but your words carry more weight. You do less, but your actions carry more meaning. This is divine efficiency. This is the fruit of spiritual silence. You were not created to live in chaos. Your natural state is peace. Your natural rhythm is presence. And this moment, this sacred silence God injects into your spirit is not a break from life. It is the beginning of true living. You will begin to notice the difference between activity and alignment, between busyness and purpose, between noise and truth. The voice of truth is not loud. It is consistent, and it always comes from the stillest part of you. People will wonder what changed in you. They will sense your peace and ask for your secret, but you will not explain it with words. You will share it through your vibration. Your peace will speak louder than your voice. Your presence will teach more than your advice. That is how transformation unfolds, not in explanation, but in embodiment. And that is what silence allows. It allows you to become the message rather than just talk about it. So on this day, when divine instruction is given, remember, it will not arrive through noise. It will arrive through stillness. It will not require your effort, only your awareness. You do not need to chase it, you only need to make space for it, and in that space, God will do what only He can do. Remind you who you truly are. There is a moment in every sincere seeker's life when the endless struggle between doing and being begins to dissolve. It is the moment when action becomes effortless, because it no longer comes from ambition, but from alignment. You are no longer pushing against the flow of existence, you are moving with it. On July 8, 2025, something sacred will occur, not outside of you, but within. God will not inject you with power for power's sake. He will align His will with yours so deeply, so silently, that what you want and what He wants will begin to feel the same. It is no longer your separate desire. It is His breath moving through your intention. End of section. To align with God is not to surrender your individuality. It is to awaken your originality. What you call your dream, your vision, your calling, it did not begin in your head. It was seated in your soul long before you could name it. The reason it haunts you, calls to you, follows you, is because it's not yours to abandon. It is His will wrapped in your fingerprint. You are not being asked to invent your purpose. You are being invited to embody it. And for that to happen, your will must become pure. Not pure in a moralistic sense, but in a spiritual sense. Undivided, clear, rooted. Many people spend their lives torn. One part of them yearns for truth, peace, service. Another part fears judgment, failure, rejection. And so the will becomes fractured. Energy leaks out in every direction. Intention becomes muddy. Action loses force. And yet the divine waits, quietly, patiently, for the day your inner compass turns fully in one direction. That direction is not outward. It is inward. It is upward. It is the moment when you stop bargaining with God and begin walking beside Him. The reason this alignment feels unfamiliar to many is because they have not tasted real stillness, real presence, true surrender. Surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that your will, when disconnected from divine intelligence, becomes exhausting. But when your will is plugged into the current of creation, you don't burn out, you burn bright. Your work becomes worship. Your silence becomes instruction. Your movement becomes meditation. July 8th is not just a date, it is a doorway. On this day, you will not be forced to act. You will be invited to align. When God injects His energy into your will, you will notice that hesitation begins to fade, not because the fear is gone, but because clarity has arrived. You will no longer need to fight yourself every step of the way. You will move with a quiet certainty, a grounded knowing, not because you are confident, but because you are connected. The mind often seeks dramatic transformation, flashy confirmation, but God does not work through spectacle. He works through synchronization. He places you at the right time, with the right people, with the right insight, not through force, but through resonance. Your role is not to manipulate life. It is to attune to it, to make your vessel so clean, so clear, that divine will can flow through you, unobstructed. That is what it means to become a channel, not a container of ideas, but a conductor of light. When your will aligns with His, even your desires begin to shift. What you once thought you needed, you no longer crave. What once distracted you now dissolves. You begin to want what nourishes your soul, not just what entertains your senses. You begin to choose peace over pride, service over status, truth over temporary pleasure. And you do not make these choices out of moral obligation. You make them because your system has changed. The divine has taken up residence in your intentions. You will begin to notice that opportunities feel different. You will not chase them in desperation. They will arrive in harmony. You will know what to say yes to and what to walk away from, not by logic alone, but by feeling, by vibration. The body becomes wise when the spirit is leading. Your entire being becomes an instrument, and the melody it plays is not yours alone. It is His. These alignments will not make you passive. It will make you powerful. But this power will be different. It will not be loud. It will not be aggressive. It will be still, centered, certain. Like a tree rooted so deeply that even the strongest winds cannot shake it. Your confidence will no longer come from strategy, but from surrender. You will walk into rooms, not needing to prove, not needing to dominate, but simply carrying the weight of presence. That is the kind of power the world does not understand, but always feels. People often ask, how do I know what God wants from me? The answer is not in more questions, but in deeper silence. The more you align with divine will, the more you feel what is not yours to carry, what is not yours to fix, what is not yours to chase. You begin to live in energetic integrity. Every yes is clean. Every no is clear. There is no longer confusion between what feels good and what is right, because you are being guided from a place that is far beyond emotional impulse. You are being guided from the divine core of your being. On this sacred day, God will not override your will. He will upgrade it. He will refine it. He will take the fragments of your desires and burn them in the fire of truth until only what is pure remains. You will begin to want less, but receive more. Do less, but accomplish more. Speak less, but impact more. Because your will is no longer scattered, it has become one with His rhythm. The world may not recognize this change in you immediately, but you will. You will feel it in your breath, in your posture, in the way you listen without needing to reply, in the way you walk away from distractions that once hooked you, in the way you stay calm while others panic. This is not apathy, it is authority. You are no longer reacting to life. You are co-creating it. The real victory is not in achieving more, it is in becoming more aligned. And from that alignment, the right actions become obvious. You no longer need to hype yourself up. You are carried by purpose. You are moved by intention. You are fed by inner stillness. And that stillness is not passive. It is the most powerful form of presence you can carry. This energy that God will place within you is not emotional, it is spiritual. It does not come and go with moods, it stays, it roots, it anchors. That is the nature of aligned will. It gives you consistency even when your circumstances are inconsistent. It gives you clarity even when others are confused. It gives you endurance not through adrenaline, but through devotion. When your will aligns with divine will, the ego softens. You no longer obsess over credit. You no longer argue over validation. You serve because service is its own reward. You speak because silence gave you something worth sharing. You act because stillness has ripened into truth. This is how the sacred warrior is born. Not in force, but in inner alignment. You do not need to announce your alignment. Life will reflect it. People will feel it. Circumstances will adjust to it. Doors will open that were once sealed, and you will not stand in front of them shaking with doubt. You will walk through them with reverence, because you know you are not walking alone. You are walking in will that is no longer yours alone. It is shared, it is holy, it is divine. This is the power God gives on sacred days. Not just fuel for action, not just clarity for decision, but a transformation of your very intention. Your will becomes a torch, not burning from pressure, but glowing from presence. And as long as you stay in alignment, that flame will not go out. It will guide you through darkness. It will protect you from noise. It will anchor you in storms, because it is not your fire. It is His. And this fire, this silent, steady force, will change everything, not all at once, but from the inside out.